When I was a kid, I loved to play the game hide and seek. All the neighborhood kids would come together and we would hide and play. But there was an interesting phrase we used to always say, and I'm sure you said it too, something like "ollie ollie oxen free." And that indicated that anybody that was hiding could now come into the open without losing the game. And I thought that was so cool. In other words, all of those who are out may come in without penalty. Now think about that. God's greatest purpose for marriage and for all of our relationships and for all of humanity has been challenged by the fallen angel Satan, also known as the serpent, right? The serpent was crafty, more crafty than any other beast in the field, said Genesis 3:1. God created Adam and Eve with the capacity to choose between God's desire for their lives and their own desires, his way or their way. And here's the invisible threat. Satan entered this story, our story, and convinced them to trust their own way rather than God's. And immediately they moved away from oneness and they drifted towards isolation from each other and God. So for the first time, people experienced shame. Remember in Genesis 3:7, they sewed together fig leaves and they experienced guilt. The man and his wife hid themselves in verse 8. They were afraid. They said, "I was afraid, so I hid." And we started to shift blame. The woman you gave, and the serpent deceived me. And there's this battle for control now. Your desire shall be for your husband, but he shall rule over you, said verses 7 in Genesis. So, Satan continues to sabotage oneness in relationships today by encouraging independence from God, and he knows that it will have far-reaching consequences. You see, it distorts our vision of God's existence and what he does, and it destroys God's influence on our future and on future generations. So here's the invisible threat that we have to be careful of. That disruption of companionship between friends and between partners and between spouses. In Genesis 3, God's first words to us fallen, sinful, but loved and beautiful people was this. 3 penetrating yet softly spoken words. He wasn't screaming. He wasn't angry. He was full of compassion, like ollie ollie oxen free. I was afraid. I was ashamed, so I hid. And if we come in, we win. And we're still doing that with our scars and with the way we hide from God. But Jesus' 3 words said, "It is finished." No more shame, and we get to put on his robes of righteousness. And that invisible threat now is something that has turned into one of the most awesome, amazing stories of all of creation.